everyone, and welcome back to the Real Positive Girl Podcast. Happy Wednesday. I hope that your day has been fantastic. I know I say that every single time. I mean it every single time. Just so you know, I mean it every single time. But I hope that your day has been going awesome, and if it's not, I hope that you're able to find your way back to an amazing day or just a mediocre day that'll help you get through with a positive mindset. So let's jump right in. Just as a reminder, this week we are speaking about anxiety. And today I want to talk about meeting your own expectations, which it was really hard, just to put this out there, it was really hard for me to kind of condense what I want to talk about because there are so many things that we could talk about with expectations that it might even be a category that I talk about all for a whole week, because expectations can be broken down and talked about so deeply. So I'm going to try to keep it very condensed because you know that I'm only doing 10 minutes every day, and let me know if you would be interested in having this be longer. I don't know what that would mean for my IGTV videos because those can only be 10 minutes. I might have to transition to doing YouTube, but anyway, it's whatever you guys want, whatever is most helpful. But let's just get started for today, okay? Again, happy Wednesday. So meeting your own expectations. It's much more important to meet your own expectations than others, obviously. Focusing on yourself is much more beneficial, and you shouldn't compare yourself to others. So I wanted to make sure that I highlighted meeting your own expectations, not everyone else's, because believe me, as a perfectionist and a people pleaser, I would spend all of my time, and I mean all of it, trying to meet the expectations of what other people are setting for me. Or, which was the worst thing, is I'd be trying to meet expectations that I thought that they had for me, when in reality, they did not have any expectations for me. It's really just a story that I was making up in my head, which is something that I talk about a lot with my counselor about, stopping the story, not letting the story take over my mind and think that, and convincing myself that whatever is in my mind is true, which is not true. That's definitely something we could talk about in the future as well, but let me not get on a tangent. But yeah, you need to focus on the expectations that you're setting for yourself, not the ones that you're making up in your head that you think other people have for you. And then another thing to steer away from that is to make sure that you are not comparing yourself to others, because if you're trying to round in those expectations of yourself to be like someone else, it's not healthy, it's not going to work, and it's not going to benefit you at all whatsoever. Let me just end that right here. It is not. I've tried a lot and it doesn't. So I encourage you to stop with that. Also, don't let disappointment stop you in your tracks. Allow yourself to make mistakes and steer clear of perfectionism. Perfectionism is something that I also feel like I want to talk about for like a whole week, but it's something that I continually struggle with because I know that nothing is perfect. Life is not perfect. There is no perfect person in the entire world. Only Jesus is perfect. And yet I am out here trying to be perfect, trying to make sure everything is like top notch, and going so far as to procrastinate things so far because I want it to be perfect. And that's actually a common trait with perfectionists is procrastinism. And it's terrible. It's a terrible combination. I know it from my own experience, and it's something that you want to definitely steer clear from. You want to allow yourself to make mistakes. You want to tell yourself, hey, it's okay. No one's perfect. And we have to make mistakes so that we understand how to do things in life. We have all these experiences on what the wrong way to do it is so that you can help someone else avoid doing it the wrong way. And maybe in doing it the wrong way, you'll find an even better way to do it than what the traditional way of doing something is. I don't know. There's so much opportunity in allowing yourself to make mistakes and learn from the things that you go through, in actually making headway and progress in your everyday life. So you don't want to let disappointment stop you in your tracks. You don't want to be like, okay, I've made all these mistakes. You don't want to let it bleed into your self-worth either. Don't have time to talk about that today. It's definitely something that's super important because disappointments can just take over your whole life. But don't let them stop you in your tracks. okay? Don't let them get in the way of creating expectations for yourself that could help better yourself, keep yourself on track, and help you really focus in on yourself and not all the other crap that's happening like outside of your life, your mind, anything. But be careful, because unfulfilled expectations involving other people can turn into resentments, especially unspoken ones. So back to unspoken ones. It is so hard to not make up these things in your mind. At least it is for me. Maybe a lot of people don't struggle with this, but I struggle with it a lot. I struggle with mind reading, which is when, I feel like I talked about this last week or week before last. And mind reading is when you think you know what someone else is thinking about you, about anything. You think that you know everything that's going on inside their mind, what they're going to do. And a lot of times, for me, I think that I'm basing that on historical data of that person. And, I would say that's only probably right maybe 20% of the time. And that's really hard for me to admit, but it's definitely the truth. So unfulfilled expectations. So let's say that you're in a relationship with someone and you, let's just say that you ask them to load the dishwasher, and maybe they stay home and work at home, and they might have time to do that during the day. And they're like, okay, but then when you get home from work that day and that wasn't done, it's an unfulfilled expectation, because you had the expectation, you asked them to do it, they said that they would, but they didn't do it. And that's why when it involves other people, it can turn into resentment, because now you resent them. You're like, oh, they said they were going to do this thing and they didn't do this thing. Why didn't they do this thing? This is why I should have done it myself in the first place. You want to take a step back from that, because if someone doesn't fulfill the expectations that you set for them or that you've agreed upon, that's okay. Because let's jump back to the beginning when I was talking about how it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to stumble on things and figure out what you need to do. And maybe it'll help them to have a nice, calm conversation of like, hey, I asked you to do this thing, you didn't do it. What happened? Maybe they need a better system on how to remember how to do that thing. There are so many things that could be discussed and worked on just in that one moment of them forgetting to do something that you already had an expectation for them to do. But now let's talk about unspoken ones. This is a problem for me. It's a really big problem that I've been working on a lot. So a lot of times the expectations that I hold for myself are pretty high, and I unfortunately will extend those to other people in my life, which is not fair at all, because we should all have our own expectations. They should be tailored specifically to us and who we are and what we're all about, not to other people. And so a lot of times in the past I would be like, okay, well, I went ahead and took out all the garbage and loaded the dishwasher and did this, that, and the other. And I told my husband there's only a couple chores left to do. Well, if this whole situation was reversed and he had told me, yeah, all I have to do now is clean the bathroom and vacuum, I myself would be like to myself, oh, you know what? He did all this work. I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of it. But what would happen a lot is that I would expect him to, step in and do that extra work, and when I hadn't even asked him to do it, like it was an unfair expectation. Or what used to happen a lot that doesn't happen anymore, because we've had a conversation about it like 5 times, is that I would come home from the grocery store from actually doing like a really big shop, I'd be like, I'm gonna go shopping for the week, and then I'd come home and I would start unloading the car, and he'd come out and say hi to me, but then he wouldn't offer to unload the groceries for me, and I would be expecting him to be like, hey, can I help you unload those groceries? And but he never did, and I would hold all this resentment towards him, and we had to have a long conversation about it. But just to hone it all back in, because we're running out of time for this episode, unfulfilled expectations, especially unspoken ones, are dangerous territory. Stay away from them. Keep all of your expectations. Focus on yourself, not other people, because that'll only get you in trouble and cause more issues. So let me end with saying that you want to make sure that your expectations are in line with your own values and something that you actually can accomplish. Don't set expectations up here that you can't hit just so that you can feel disappointed and feel like a victim. That is not the way to live your life. You need to live your life as a strong person. Know what expectations you can hit. If you need help hitting those, you can if you just had a little bit of help, fine. Find the help, but don't overextend yourself and make sure they're in line with your values. So Have a great day. Happy Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.